life. They give everybody a trophy. That's what they did tonight. They gave a trophy, a win, a huge win to Horn, the local kid, for trying hard. You're not supposed to get it for trying hard. You're supposed to get it for winning.
What's up, fight fans? Thank you once again for coming through. Much appreciated. Remember, if you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, please. If you're an existing follower, I say this all the time, so I mean it, right? Thank you so much for coming back to watch another video. Honestly, I so appreciate it. All right, let's talk boxing. David Price, ouch, makes his return to the ring. And you know, I wasn't going to do a video on this. I've seen a few people have done videos, good videos as well. Check them out. Some people have commented on it, and it's difficult. Look, I feel like any sportsman, talking about retirement, at any level, any sport, it's difficult. So who are we to kind of say, oh, he should be retired, It's not an easy decision. It's not an easy decision, especially when you've been doing it since you were like 10, 11. So to tell someone to stop, it's very difficult. But someone might need to tell David Price to stop, right? Boxers, and I say this very honestly, because I've interviewed boxers, I've been around boxers, I've talked to boxers, I know former boxers. Boxers are the most delusional people in the world, right? And that's not a bad thing. I think you have to be. You have to be, as a boxer, you have to be delusional. They're almost, for you to want to be the best at boxing, there almost has to be a reason why you lost. It's never, and you guys can check many people's interviews, it's very rarely the guy was just too good and he kicked my ass. It very rarely works like that in boxing. There's always a training camp didn't go too well. I didn't make the weight because of this. I came in a bit too heavy. I didn't acclimatize to the altitude. I need to change trainer. I had a problem with this. My hand hurts. I didn't train properly for the last. There's always a reason, and we've heard them all, right? So I sometimes, when thinking about David Price's return, in my head I was thinking, has he sat down with a team and almost made excuses for every loss? I mean, does he look back and think, okay, Tony Thompson came in with I think there was an allegation of PDs with Tony Thompson, whatever, directed, I can't remember. But does he look back and think, okay, that's the reason I lost that fight? Tepper, we all knew about the not even allegation, the proven problem with PED, so that's the reason I lost that fight. And Hamer, I think behind the scenes they were saying that he's just too heavy, right? He came in way too heavy, the heaviest he's ever been. And I think there was issues with that. So he can look back at all these fights, as he probably might have done, and say, look, there's a reason I lost every single fight. Do I think that's delusional? Of course I do. But I can understand how he might look at it and say, look, there's a reason I lost every fight, so I'm going to make a comeback because A, B, C, and D. I watched Joe Rogan podcast. If you don't watch that, I don't know what's wrong with you. But I watched Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan had Brendan Schaub on his podcast. This was a couple of years back. If you can, check it out. It's I think it's the podcast number 436 or 486. Check it out. Fantastic. Anyway, Brendan Schaub, as you guys might know, is a former UFC fighter in the heavyweight division, right? He had a fight with Travis Browne, another heavyweight, obviously, and he got his ass kicked. No two ways about it. And he was doing a breakdown of the fight on the podcast, and him and Joe Rogan are quite good friends out of the UFC, out of mixed martial arts. They're just very good friends. Joe Rogan, obviously, to people that might not know, is a UFC commentator, former taekwondo fighter, former kickboxer fighter, so knows his shit, right? Seen thousands of people fight in the UFC. So they're breaking the fight down, and Brendan Schaub was making excuse after excuse after excuse. So I missed that punch because of this. I landed that punch because of that. I kind of was asking the referee not to stop it, blah, blah, blah. He's expecting Joe Rogan to kind of back him up and say, oh, yeah, I get it. Joe Rogan kind of completely does the opposite, flips it 180 degrees and says, you didn't look good that fight. And you can almost see Brendan Schaub's face was like, well, what's going on? He said, you look stiff. Your punches were way off. He then went on to say, you're not an elite level fighter. You're just not. He said, you're going to fight the best, and unfortunately, I can tell you now, you're going to lose. He said, in fact, he even went to, I think he's went as strong as, they'll fuck you up. That's what he said to his best friend on a live podcast, right? He said those words to him. He said, you're a smart guy. and you've almost got one foot out the door. He says, as a fighter, that's the worst thing you can do. But as a smart guy, he said, you understand that for you to want to fight the elite, if you have any ambitions of winning a title, you're going to fight the elite. You're not going to win, so there's a good chance that you might get KO'd and suffer more concussions if you go on that route. Brendan Schaub retired 3 months later. Someone close to him was able to have a conversation with him and saying, look, you're good, but you're not that good. You're not elite. And to fight for what you think you want, you're going to have to fight the elite fighters, and chances are you're going to lose, chances are you're going to get more concussions, possible brain damage, you're going to get knocked out. Someone needs to have that honest conversation with David Price. I don't know, Dave Coldwell might have had it. We don't know. I'm not sure. But someone needs to sit him down and say, you were British champion, you're an Olympic bronze medal, that's fine. That's okay as a career. If you're coming back with any aspirations of even fighting for a European title, you're not going to get it. You're not good enough. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think we have it in our heads that all our boxers that are known, name boxers, should be fighting for world titles. No, it doesn't work like that. The elite are supposed to fight for world titles. World titles are given away too easy now. The elite boxers are supposed to fight for world titles. David Price is not elite. There's no shame in that. Someone needs to sit him down and save him from himself and have that honest Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub conversation. Why not have that conversation with him and saying, look, if you want to go for a European title or even a Commonwealth title, even I dare say a British title nowadays, you're going to have to fight someone good. Chances are, considering what we've seen in your last 5 or 6 fights, the chances are you might get knocked out. The chances are you're going to suffer concussions. The chances are you might get brain damage. I'm going so far now, but someone's got to have, honestly, that kind of conversation with him. Because that's what he needs. David Price is just an okay boxer. And I sometimes feel that he thinks of where he was 5-6 years ago when he was knocking everyone out, and there was even talks about him fighting Tyson Fury and him beating Tyson Fury. Those days are gone. And it's okay for them to go. There's no problem in that, but those days have gone. See, I have a problem with, I have a problem with the matchmaking for David Price as well. So I remember when David Price lost to Erkan Tepe, took that long time out, took nearly a year out of the ring. They put him against Vlake Persja, if I'm correct, who's a 9-2 record. And then they put him against Perkovic, who was 22 and 30. 22 and 30. Of course he's going to knock those kind of guys out. 22 and 30. And then they put him with Christian Hamer, who was 20 and 4 at the time. They didn't think that maybe we're going to match him up maybe 3 or 4 more fights against people with winning records before we chucking him against someone that is clearly a decent boxer in Hamer. And that's a shame. The problem for him now, for me, is that he takes on Rafael Love, right? Rafael Love has, literally, he's almost a whipping boy for everyone that's either coming back, coming up, or an elite fighter. Every time he stepped up to a decent level, he's been knocked out. So if David Price doesn't knock him out, then we're going to have a serious conversation with Price again. Or people are going to have to, someone's going to have to say, look, David, no. Start training, start managing, maybe get on the commentary a bit, do something else. You can, you're 34 years of age, you're a smart guy. I've heard him talk many times, he's a smart guy, he's not a dumb guy. Boxing is unlike any sport. Boxing and any combat sport is unlike any sport, right? This isn't like Premier League football where if you're no longer elite, you can drop down a level and you can go to, I don't know, Championship, League 1, League 2, or you can even do what Jermaine Pennant's done and bloody play for Billericay. You can't do that if you're a name in a name in boxing. You just can't, because you win a couple of fights and everyone gets excited again. You can sell tickets. You're a TV draw. Everyone wants to see you in there against somebody. And this is the problem with boxing. You don't play with boxing. And I feel like what David Price is doing right now is playing with boxing. He's tried different trainers. Obviously, right now he's going with Vaughan and Matthews. It's a dangerous game. It's a very, very dangerous game. And I think, like, look, I've said this so many times, and I don't know about his financial situation, so it might be different. I've always said, get in, get paid, get out. You know, if you win a couple of titles, fantastic. If you win 20 titles, like Mayweather, even bloody better. But get in, get paid, get out. Especially in the heavyweight division. I mean, the lower weight's okay, but the heavyweight division, all it takes is one of these. One big one and you're done. And I'd hate to see someone like David Price, who I'm quite fond of. I think he speaks well. He's been in some good fights. I'd hate to see him go that route. But I think we're getting to the stage now where it's too risky. I think it's far too risky for him to fight. I think mentally he's not quite there. I don't know if he's been with anyone. I don't know if he's been with Adam Booth, but that would be a trainer I'd chuck him with. Adam Booth seems to be able to... Adam Booth almost seems like a guy that can help boxers that struggle mentally. I don't know. That just seems the way. That's his aura about him. I don't know if he's been with Adam Booth. If he hasn't, then maybe that's a route to go down. If he wants to stay in boxing, but I personally think he should have retired after the Christian Hamer fight. But like I said, it's very difficult to tell people to retire from a sport, let alone boxing. But guys, what do you think? Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. If you haven't seen that podcast, Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's fantastic. Every boxer needs that conversation. Peace.